What's happening, people? Welcome back to the episode, and it is a review because Chelsea have just beaten Newcastle United 2-1, and it was a game. It was an interesting game. It was a battle at the bridge. But as we all know, Chelsea opened the scoring with Nicolas Jackson, but Cole Palmer, please, Lord have mercy. What does this boy have to do to be dubbed the best player in the Premier League at the moment? He receives the ball on the half turn, one look, and Pedro Neto's on his bike. In that incisive pass to split open the defence, it was literally like watching Patrick Mahomes in the NFL quarterback position. It was absolutely superb. And for any of you that watch my preview of this game, I said, where you get the most joy against Newcastle United is in the wide areas. Their fullbacks push up high, their wingers tuck in, and they're really exposed in those wide areas. So Enzo Maresca has done his homework, and you need to give him his mangoes for that, because he's looked at Newcastle United, and they're one of the most narrow teams in the Premier League. So where do you get your joy? Out wide. So he's probably paid. You've got to give him credit, because there was a method of playing Pedro Neto, because Jadon Sancho would not have made that run. Pedro Neto has the pace to frighten players and to get in behind. So he's used that. He's looked at the opposition and looked at their weaknesses and then tactically adjusted to outstretch those weaknesses. And you need to give him his credit, because it worked perfectly. It was like something on the training pitch. Levi Colwill into Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer turns, second touch, he sends Pedro Neto. And all he's got to do is square it Nicolas Jackson, because Newcastle United were all over the shop, and it was beautiful. So Chelsea go 1-0 up then. You think the game's going to be comfortable. But I want to talk about Chelsea's setup for a second, because we're seeing against Liverpool, he played Malo Gusto at left back and Reece James at right back. Well, he switched them around today, and I think there's a reason why, because Levi Colwill was getting exposed out wide. He was getting stretched too far out wide against Liverpool. And I think having Malo Gusto inverting the right back position just nullified Newcastle United to try and go on the out wide, because Reece James done a brilliant job tucking into that left centre back position, which allowed Levi Colwill to be the centre back. And I think naturally that's when he's at his best. So I think Enzo Maresca again got it pretty spot on with the defensive shape. And again, just like I've just mentioned as the opening goal, starting Pedro Neto is a genius move in this game, because, as I mentioned, Newcastle United's weaknesses is getting in behind those fullbacks. But I thought, again, in the first half, we were the better team. We were on the front foot. We were creating the chances. And it was just a lack of clinical. Nobody was clinical today, and that's the difference. I thought Nicolas Jackson had a brilliant game up top, because Dan Burn and Fabian Shaw are very aggressive front foot defenders, and it's extremely difficult for a striker playing as a lone striker to battle with them. And I think he did. I think his hold of play was brilliant. He brought others into the game. He was sharp with his passing. His movement was good. He had an exceptional game today and fully deserved his goal. But then Newcastle United struck back with Alexander Isak. He scored. And to be honest, he scores in the majority of the big games. Although he didn't have much to do, he was still there to finish a chance. And a lot of you are not going to like what I'm going to say here, because I thought Reece James had a very good game. I thought he played really well. But this one mistake could have cost Chelsea. And one-on-one defending, when you learn from a very young age, be goal side of your man. What I mean by goal side, you're close at your goal, and you can see the shirt number on the back of your man's top as well as the ball. So you need to be goal side. Not once through Newcastle's attack was Reece James goal side, and Alexander Isak was allowed to run off him. If he had been goal side there, Isak doesn't score. And that's the one mistake Reece James made, and it cost her. And that's what you get in the Premier League. When you make a mistake or switch off, they punish you. And Newcastle United did so. So there we have it. The game's tied at 1-1. And then you're thinking, what's next? What's next? Which is a team that's really going to put their front foot style on this game? And Newcastle United thought they should have had a penalty, even though it wouldn't even been a penalty, because if you watch any of the replays, when Levi Colwill brings them down, it's outside the box. So if anything, it's a free kick, and I've got to hold my hands up. I do think it was a foul. I think Chelsea got away with one there. But to say it's a penalty, just because he falls into the penalty box, does not mean it was a penalty. The challenge happened outside the penalty box. So if anything, it would have been a free kick. It should have been a free kick. Levi Colwill probably would have been in the book, and that meant Fofana and Colwill would have both been on a yellow card, and Newcastle United would have tried to frustrate them, would have tried to get one of those sent off. So I'm glad the referee didn't give it, but I'm surprised they didn't give it. But now that I've just mentioned Levi Colwill and Fofana, I didn't think as a duo it was their best of games. I think we're too vulnerable in transitions. And in simplistic terms, Maresca does what Guardiola does. Attack with 5 and have 5 left back. So 5 defenders, 5 forwards, pretty much. That's very basic, simplistic terms. But I think the gap between the two is too far. And I mentioned this against Crystal Palace at home. I said the gap between the 5 forward and the 5 back is too big. And that's where we're getting exploited. And that's where we feel vulnerable, because we're positioning's all off. And teams on the counter-attack are exploiting that. So I think if there's one tweak that I would like to see in the defensive side from Enzo Maresca, it would just be having a body in there. Maybe defending in... just having somebody either step out from that defensive 5, just coming in that middle of the park, or attacking in forwards and just having someone just hovering a little bit, just to cover that space a bit more. But now that I'm speaking of Levi Colwill and Fofana, did anybody else think Fofana was going to go off injured? My hand was over my mouth. I was like, oh, please don't get injured. I just want a full season of an injury-free Wesley Fofana, because once he does that, you're going to see a big, big difference in his attitude, his performances, because you can tell he's a little bit hesitant on defending at times. And I think if once he just racks up numerous amount of games without getting injured, then you're going to see a big difference in his confidence when defending. But the halftime whistle goes and the game's all square at 1-1. And then just as we did at the first half, the second half, we did exactly the same. I don't know whether they worked on that in training, because we scored in the opening minute of the first half. It was disallowed Cole Palmer again. And then in the opening couple of minutes of the second half, Cole Palmer did Cole Palmer things and beat Nick Pope at the near post. Now, one thing I'm going to say about Newcastle United, you can't give Cole Palmer that much space and room and allow him just to drive into the penalty area, because once he does that, and once he gains that yard of separation, you're absolutely in for, because he can punish you at any moment. And he did exactly that against Newcastle United. I think they stepped off him too much and give him too much space. And Cole Palmer, when you give him that space, he is absolutely deadly. His technique, his ability to hit it low and hard was all on point. He did everything right, and that's why he scored. Chelsea go 2-1 up. And then I was thinking, right, this is it. We're going to step up the gears. We're going to move up those gears and really put it on Newcastle United. For the first 10 minutes after that goal, we did so. And then we start sitting back and inviting Newcastle United on us. And Isak nearly got an equaliser. I think on a different day, and if he hadn't just come back from injury, I think Isak scores there, or he squares it to his teammate. It was kind of like he was caught in two minds. Do I think it was a foul on Wesley Fofana? No. I think Wesley Fofana has to be stronger there. I don't think Isak done enough for him to go to the ground. I think he went to the ground too easily. And then Isak's one-on-one with Robert Sanchez. And Robert Sanchez is not having his best of games. I'm going to talk about him real soon. But he goes around Robert Sanchez. He's on a tight angle, tries to come in. He's got bodies to square it to. He goes to get a shot off, and Caicedo comes back, puts it out for a corner in the nick of time. But we've got to stop giving away these needless chances, being so vulnerable in defensive transitions, because teams are really exploiting one. But you're thinking, right, we've got away with one there. And then Newcastle United get in on goal again, having one cleared off the line. And you're thinking, what's going to happen in this game? Can we hold on? Luckily, we held on. I thought the substitutes were smart, bringing Madueke off, who was not having his best of games. I thought Lewis Hall played really well for Newcastle. I think he was their best player, to be honest. Mudryk came on. Pedro Neto went on the right wing. I thought that was smart because you could use Mudryk's pace, Pedro Neto on the right, and that just didn't allow Newcastle United fullbacks to get as high and advanced as they wanted to be, because if they did so, they're leaving themselves exposed. So it was kind of a bit of a chess piece in terms of tactics. Then we've seen Enzo Fernandez come on for Romeo Lavia. I want to give Romeo Lavia and Moses Caicedo their dues today, because Newcastle United are one of the most physical, dominant teams in those central areas. And I thought Lavia and Caicedo held their own. I thought they battled well, because there wasn't going to be much ball involvement from those in the middle of the park. And I thought they battled well, they won the duels well, they were compact, they were disciplined, and didn't allow Newcastle's runners to get in behind. And I thought they did really well in that. And then Chris Van Cuckoo came on for Nicolas Jackson, and he nearly made an impact in the 90th minute. He got through on goal. That chop back on Dan Burn. Dan Burn was left for dust. Dan Burn didn't even know where he was, what to do. So he put his hands on Chris Van Cuckoo, who went down. But I think, sorry to say, I would be upset if that penalty was given against Chelsea. I would be really upset. I don't think it was enough to bring Chris Van Cuckoo down. And I think if Chris Van Cuckoo stayed on his feet, he would have got the ball first, and he could have just slotted it in the far corner. And I think that would have put Chelsea 3-1 up. I think he went down too easily, and I think it was the right decision to get overturned. I know many people won't agree with that, but I really do. But I want to speak on Robert Sanchez, because I thought he had his worst game of the season today, despite having 2 errors against Brighton. I thought his distribution was terrible. It was like he had a black and white shirt on. And I just think Jorgensen's looked really comfortable in Europe. And is Enzo Maresca looking at that and thinking, does Jorgensen deserve a start? Because don't get us wrong, Robert Sanchez, he made 2 terrific saves against Nottingham Forest. But when you look at the face of it, he's not a Chelsea-level goalkeeper, if we're being completely honest. He's a good shot stopper, does his bit here and there, but there's too many mistakes. Goalkeepers, especially at the elite level like Chelsea, cannot be making at least 1 mistake per game. And I do think his nervousness, his ability to not be comfortable, is putting the defenders on edge. I really, really do. I think it's impacting the defenders, because when you know you've got your safety net behind you, you're a little bit more composed that you've got somebody that can bail you out. But when you're worried about what's behind you, that affects your performance. And I think it's really having an effect on the 2 centre-backs. So it's going to be interesting what Enzo Maresca does. But the level of depth in this Chelsea squad is unbelievable. Like, when you think about it, players that didn't even come on, João Felix, Jadon Sancho, the players that started, Noni Madueke, Pedro Neto, Nicolas Jackson, Cole Palmer, even Enzo Fernandez come on, and I think he done that just to get a bit of control on this game. But I said from these next 3 Premier League games before the international break, you want 2 wins at least. We've won 1. Now we've got Man United and Arsenal. 1 win out of those games, and I think you've had a very, very, very good start this season. But I want to know your thoughts. What do you think of the game? Drop us a comment in the below. And once again, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button to support this channel. Once again, I appreciate your time because I know time is precious. Thank you very much.